where are the next 100 million jobs going to come from?
See, I'm very worried that with automation, with 3D printing coming, and with more efficient supply chain and technology, we will have to be very careful about jobs. We need to grow at 9 to 10% and develop our market, our manufacturing to be more cost efficient. Margins for manufacturing will have to come down to create lower costs so consumption can go up. It has to be a mass manufacture, consumption-led economy with prices coming down, and not the selective manufacturing where you only take the top 20% of the market. You have to come down like China did and expand the base so that everybody can have goods and services at reasonable prices, and jobs have to come out of that. And in services, automation, more skills are required, more education required. My opinion is that we are in the midst of a demographic disaster in this country. Over the last 10 years, at least 10 crore youngsters in the age group of 21 to 31 have no jobs, are very bad jobs. The next 10 years, another 10 crores are going to come. And that's why we've got this Gujar agitation, the Jat agitation, the Patels fighting it out, the Marathas fighting it out, and the Kamas fighting it out. These are all manifestations of what is happening. The fact that in the last 10 years, we didn't produce enough jobs. And the next 10 years, I don't know where the jobs are going to come from.
So how do you resolve the issue?
Consumption increases, unless growth increases, jobs will not come. If consumption goes to 9-10%, growth goes to 9-10%, which Prime Minister Modi wants to do, with digitization, with increased efficiency, lower supply chain costs, with the GST and one common market, then the velocity of business has to grow up. That will create many more service jobs. And hopefully this 10 crore people in the next 10 years may not get jobs, may get reduced, maybe 5 crores, 6 crores. But in my view, this 20 crore people from last 10 years till 2025 will be the forgotten generation. When we sit down in 2030 and write the history of India from 2010 to 2030, we will see that this is a forgotten, lost generation for India. I'm slightly less optimistic than I was a few years ago because I've seen technology come, I've seen change happen, I've seen the impact on the world, and I see it happening in India too.
But what about the demographic dividend which we all spoke about and we are not able to leverage it?
There is no demographic dividend in this country. Let's be very clear. Because demographic dividend come and jobs come and the young workforce come and consumption come. The only thing is that dependency ratio has come down. And that is a good thing. Dependency ratio means that the percentage of people who depend on one earning member, that has come down. So families have become smaller. So the youngsters who are coming into the marketplace are from smaller families. The parents can support them. So they're not there. They will not die of hunger and anything because they have no job, but they'll not have much jobs. And that is a big issue. But that is a slightly benefit of the last 10-15 years of growth that has come about. But way to jobs, I think, we have to sit down and think about it. And frankly, I've been thinking about it for long, and I'm not very certain at this point of time. I'm very skeptical.
Services used to contribute to a lot of job creation in the last 5 years.
Services pay you 8,000, 10,000. I don't think the kind of job people want. Because I've gone with Manish Sabharwal to many places, and you get service job for 8,000, 9,000, 10,000. People don't want to immigrate from one city to another. All the jobs are in urban areas and cities, and they pay you 8,000, 10,000. Can you live on 10,000 rupees a month in Bombay? There'll be 1 crore jobs in Bombay at 10,000 rupees a month. But will you come from outside and live here? Where will you live? The cost of living is very high. The people prefer to stay in smaller places and say, give me a job here, pay me 5,000-6,000, but there are no jobs there. The jobs are in big cities, and big cities are not willing to pay. So it's not a question of jobs, it's a question of wages. I think Manish Sabharwal put it very brilliantly when he said the problem is wages in India, not jobs. Suppose you tell somebody, you come from here, I'll pay 25,000, then the people will come. People will immigrate. 25,000 a month is a reasonable price to come. So I think if you don't pay 25,000, pay 10,000. And since it's large informal, there are a lot of labor exploitation. People are desperate, people exploit. They show something higher in the books and they don't pay the money. There's a lot of abuse happening in large parts of the economy. So I think this has to be resolved. Digitization and a little bit better regulations will hopefully challenge some of them. But the solution to all this is growth at a high pace. So what is happening in Parliament, this logjam, all this fighting is doing no good. The political parties need to understand the biggest challenge for India is we are going through a demographic disaster, and we want jobs for young people. They must come together to create the jobs. Without jobs, we'll be in deep trouble.
So if you're growing at 9 to 10%, you need to grow your manufacturing also at that level. You spoke about mass
manufacturing has to go. If supply chain becomes more efficient, supply chain costs of 14% of GDP, they should be brought on 6%. And prices have to come down so that more people can afford to buy. That's what China did. China did mass manufacture, brought on the price of everything for the whole world. More people consume. That created a virtual spiral of more people. See, our auto companies have an operating margin of 14 to 18% in India. Globally, they have 8 to 9%. Ford has 8 to 9% for many years. Best years, they got 8 to 9%. And here, they're all creaming. All these manufacturing companies are making enormous amount of money. Look at cement. Cement is earning 20-21% return on equity. Look at the margins. There's a cartel in cement. In South India, I'll say on record, there's a cartel. And we know this cartel. We complained to the CCI, they pass orders, but there's a cartel. Many parts of India, the same thing is happening. We need cost to come down. And the cost will come down when there's more competition. There's a lack of competition. People have to say mass market because they're consumption oriented.
So while if new companies come in or new services come out, are we acute in terms of skilling the manpower as well?
Skilling. Look, we talked about skilling for IT for the last 10 years. Haven't we skilled people? NASSCOM, that McKinsey report said there'll be 500,000 people shortfall by 2010 or 2015 or something. Nothing, there's no shortfall. We all know this, right? We are the people saying shortfall. See, the problem is, what we were saying and what people misread was different. We wanted ready-made people to come from college. There's no way the ready-made people will come. All of us set up training facilities. We train people. There's no lack of skilled people. Yes, there's people. The gap between what industry requires and academia produces is expanding. That gap has to be bridged.
How do we do that?
Industry has to spend on training. There's no other way because you can't. There's been no reform in education for the last 30, 40 years. What is the reform? Education is the disaster area for this country because it's producing people who just don't fit the job bill. So we have to train. I hope the government reforms education and does some surgical strike in education. I hope Prime Minister Modi does that compared to something else. The biggest challenge is educational reform. We don't have it. And the last 3 years of this government, we have not seen much of reform. We've seen more control, which is bad.
What about, you spoke about educational reforms, industry not coming in. Why is the industry staying away even though they know that they need to skill or they have to spend money on
Government
training?
doesn't respond to reform. I met all the ministers for the last 10 years. They say yes, but they don't do anything. They want control. They talk about abuse. Why does abuse happen? Because you pass such strict regulation that good people get constricted and bad people don't care. Bad people don't pass regulation. In the medical field, we got 300 medical colleges. Half of them are private. About 30-40% of private colleges are taking cash money. Everybody knows where it is. Everybody knows who has to pay. It's all in the public domain. There are agents, everybody knows. MPs call up the regulator and get seats. It's an open secret. But why is no action has been taken? Why has there not been jailed so far? You can go, they raided colleges, they found much 30-40 crores of cash in Bangalore and other places. Why is there no action? The government knows it. Regulators know it. They don't act. Why is that? System has been captured. System has been captured by people. You know that people are taking cash for giving seats in them. They're abusing it. Why should there be a management quota? We must abolish management quota and do it only by merit. There should be no management quota. It should be by merit. You come in the merit list, you pay a fee. Don't control the fees. You want somebody to get educated, government should pay for the education. Don't control. Your government is perpetuating abuse by bad policies.